Welcome to PricePlow. My name is Mike. I'm the founder of PricePlow. Today is the day we start the multiple ingredient explanations of the new Unbound Supplement series launch from the same family that brought you NutraBio, Mark Glazier and his team in Middlesex, New Jersey. Before we go further, this supplement isn't yet for sale online. Hopefully by the time you see this video it will be, but it was sent for free, so I do have to disclose that. We don't really have a business relationship with Unbound per se, but we do with NutraBio. They are affiliates and sponsors of the site, so take that with note that this was sent for free, and we will probably have an affiliate relationship with Unbound once that launches. So this is a natural muscle building supplement, BYLD, B-Y-L-D, and it includes a lot of ingredients that are non-hormonal for the most part. Like nothing crazy is going to happen here. We might lower estrogen levels a little bit later. We'll get into that. And it's non-hormonal, natural, and can be used by a vast array of different individuals. And we're going to get into that. This is probably going to be a long video. This is not a review. I'm still running it. I have opinions. I'm very positive on this supplement, but consider an ingredient explanation. Everything I talk about is referenced in our blog. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll be linked in the description. We have tons of citations on this. I really am excited about this because it has some ingredients that we haven't covered for a while that we've been writing about since, well, way too long. We're all watching me age on YouTube as we get. And that's going to be one of the stories here. One of these ingredients is an anti-aging type ingredient that I think is going to have a lot of potential in the muscle building sector. So what you have here is a 120 capsule bottle, and each serving is 4 capsules, so you got 30-day supply, and generally you're going to want to take this, in my opinion, pre-workout, probably empty stomach if you train fasted, or take it before your meal. Otherwise, take it try to take it at the same time every day. If you do split dosings AM PM, you kind of can do 2 capsules here, 2 capsules there. I would just take all 4 pre-workout though on the days you have workout, because you take rest days? Nah. So anyway, because there's the first ingredient we're going to talk about, the second ingredient is a nitric oxide booster as well, and it's a muscle builder. It's going to help boost mTOR signaling and muscle protein synthesis. Might as well take a pre-workout. That's going to start us off. So right off the bat, and I'm going to cheat a little bit with my notes, but I do have a quote from Mark Glazier off his personal Instagram. Follow him on Facebook if you're onto Facebook, mark.glazier.51, maybe 52, I forget. We have a link. We cut no corners on BYLD. It's an outstanding muscle builder. The only product on the market that has a full 1500 dose of mediator 50p, the phosphatidic acid we're going to get into, and that's just the start. Check it out. And so we do check it out, and the first ingredient is 1500 milligrams at a 50% standardization of phosphatidic acid, yielding the clinical dose of 750 milligrams. Now, this is I'm going to be honest, we don't see a lot of it. It's an expensive ingredient. And if you look at the price of BYLD, it's probably not going to be cheap because of this ingredient almost alone. And that's the way NutraBio wanted to play. I don't think Unbound, I don't think they're going to get even that great of margins on this, because they're getting it out to the retailers who do need to get some margins. It's an expensive ingredient. We don't see a ton, but it is, I think, really unique. And every time I take it, I feel I get a little bit more of a thickness, a little bit more of a fullness, and I'm not the most thick/full kind of guy, so I do definitely enjoy this ingredient, especially when it's dosed pretty well. Now, what happened, the whole story is that in the early 2000s, a lot of the research community started realizing that there's this mammalian target of rapamycin, mTOR, that signals for muscle protein synthesis and muscle growth. And what these researchers started to do is we started to want to learn more about it. So there was a series of research led by, I believe, Troy Hornberger at the University of Wisconsin, who basically what they wanted to do is they wanted to see what mechanically happens as muscle cells get built. Like, what happens? Like, what chemicals are involved, and what is happening and doing what? Where are we getting these, where are we getting the growth from? And so they actually went and they looked at a cellular level. They looked really close at just muscle cells growing. And what they realized is with live cellular imaging, they saw that there was an enzyme named phospholipase D that was directly responsible for the mechanically induced mTOR signaling process. And what this enzyme did is that it breaks down your phosphatidylcholine. We get a lot of these different types of choline supplements, or the eggs, that stuff that we're always very excited to promote and talk about, that you should be eating. Eat your eggs, eat the yolks. Phosphatidylcholine. So it breaks the phosphatidylcholine into choline and phosphatidic acid, what we have right here. And then the phosphatidic acid then goes on to directly stimulate mTOR, directly activate mTOR. So it was a really cool process. Of course, the supplement community is like, oh, really? Well, this stuff activates mTOR. Can I just take more as a supplement? And the answer turns out to be yes. So what they first did is they first want to see is this stuff orally bioavailable? And the answer is yes. So there's a study, we referenced that, where it shows that the plasma phosphatidic acid levels do indeed go up very much when you ingest it. So that's the first thing that's good. Then it was time to actually put it to the test. And instead of, a lot of times we're going to talk about Epicatechin next. We talk about the elderly and the rodents and everything. They went right into there's probably some other research out there, but they went right into trained athletes. And that's kind of for us, the gold standard of research. And they used a 750 milligram dose, which is what we have here, 8 weeks, and it was placebo controlled, and they put them under a serious strength training program. And what they noticed in the first study, there's actually 2 studies with this, is that the experimental group was 750 milligrams of PA, as we abbreviate it, and these were trained athletes who had been training for, I think, at least 5 years or more. They had a 12.7% squat boost and a 2.6% lean body mass improvement. Now, compare this to the 9.3% squat strength improvement in placebo. And that's where our asterisk is, because even the placebo group is getting way stronger here. So this is no slap dick kind of training program. They were actually training pretty hard. But lean body mass, the placebo group only gained 0.1% muscle mass, lean body mass. So there was a very, very statistical significant increase in muscle mass from the phosphatidic acid in this study. The second human study, 5 pounds of muscle mass gained in this case. 8 weeks, 750 milligrams of phosphatidic acid every day. And then what we did is compared that to control, and the PA group built 5 pounds of muscle compared to 2.5 pounds in the control group. Again, pretty good gains. Especially for trained athletes, these are hardcore training programs. Most of the times, trained athletes aren't going to be gaining 2.5 pounds of muscle in 2 months. So they were getting after it. And that's the biggest disclaimer of it all. But at the same time, these are trained athletes. They weren't just rookie gains. Like we saw in a lot of the earlier creatine studies, and we're still very pro creatine, but there's a lot of rookie gains out there to be made. And this is actually in trained athletes who weren't too old. And so not newbie gains, good deal. And so that's where we went. And then finally, there was a health and safety study, and they showed that the blood chemistry and urine values, there were no differences at baseline in blood chemistry and hematology between the control and the experimental supplemented groups. And there were no differences, and no differences were observed in urinalysis values between the groups. So it seems to be a very safe thing that our bodies produce a lot of, especially if we eat the right foods. We can supplement more. That's the first thing, and it's a full clinical dose from NutraBio. I don't know if there's many. Mark Glazier says there's no other supplements on the market doing that right now. I can't verifiably say that, but I know there ain't many out there. Now, back in the day when we wrote this article, one thing you could do is that you could take a whole bunch, 10 grams worth of soy lecithin, and you'll eventually get about 1,200 milligrams of phosphatidic acid or so. That was cool until I realized I de-soyed myself. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to take that much soy lecithin anymore. I kind of dumped the stuff, and I no longer did that. And then there's no supplements out there with the phosphatidic acid anymore. So NutraBio Build, right off the bat, is doing something unique, and it's something that we've been following for at least 5-6 years now. So really exciting about that. Next up, then, is a 300 milligram dose of Epicatechin. 90%, well, it's a 90% Epicatechin extract. So what is it, 270, am I doing the math right? 270 milligrams of, let's rewind. So that's, 270 milligrams of Epicatechin, which originally, when we first started researching and writing about this, we titled the article Epicatechin, the dark force behind dark chocolate, because this is what's found in dark chocolate, which has many different bioflavonols and flavonoids and all these very healthy components that you see written about in mainstream media. And by dark force, I mean it's something very powerful. It's not evil or doing any whatever cryptic Darth Vader central banker kind of stuff or anything. It's we're talking about a solid, very, very interesting ingredient that seems seems to bring a lot of the heavy weight to the benefits of dark chocolate. So in this is where we start seeing animal-based research leading to elderly research, and next up we would love to see some young athlete type of research. But in general, and there's also two veins of the research. We often see a lot of studies on cocoa flavonols and just dark chocolate, dark cocoa, and then we see some studies on epicatechin itself, which is one of the main flavonols. And it seems that the research kind of carries over really well, because the dark chocolate, it seems to be powered a lot by epicatechin. It truly is one of the forces in the dark chocolate. So for instance, a lot of times you can give individuals a lot of dark chocolate, a lot of cocoa flavonols, and they're going to have a decrease in blood pressure. Same thing happens with epicatechin. Turns out that this is because it's a nitric oxide booster, and that's not our main mechanism here, because we have 1,000 different ways to boost nitric oxide. NutraBio's Unbound is a way to, like, every ingredient here is going to boost nitric oxide. So not the primary mechanism, but this seems to be what's driving a lot of these health benefits to dark chocolate. So going further though, the thing that we really do get excited about is that it is a myostatin inhibitor. And so far we've seen this in the animal research, but then since we originally wrote that article in like 2015 or whatever, we now have an article on elderly, and still not trained athletes, but on elderly, showing that it increases follistatin levels and decreases myostatin levels, and works really well alongside a resistance training program. And so this is important because myostatin is kind of a governor, a limiter on muscle growth. And so our bodies try to maintain equilibrium. And unlike the bodybuilding community, the body doesn't always want to keep growing out of control. Obviously, we don't want unlimited cellular growth. There's a ton of horrific diseases related to that and everything. But in the muscle building community, yeah, you want to kind of like dampen those regulators a little bit and allow your follistatin levels to go up, decrease your myostatin levels, and kind of just dampen the slowdown of muscle building, allowing you to build a little bit more muscle. That's the idea. And so the myostatin inhibitor has been the holy grail of supplementation, and Epicatechin seems to be able to do this, at least to a small degree. Not to the degree where you see those pictures of they put a myostatin inhibitor on some dog, a pit bull dog, and it's like the most muscular thing on earth. You've seen that. We're not going to get to that level, but we are able to kind of shift the story a little bit, turn the tables just a little bit on the myostatin, follistatin picture. And it's so far working in animal studies, and now we have studies on the elderly, which is very exciting. Not perfect for us, but very good. And then in terms of, there's some auxiliary benefits as well. We talked about lowering blood pressure, so there you have the heart health benefits, and that's going to come from the nitric oxide amplification. So yeah, great, take it pre-workout, but also increased insulin sensitivity. And what's interesting is that there's a study showing that if you give people a bunch of dark chocolate, their insulin sensitivity improves, and they're able to basically pump more glucose and more energy into their muscle cells as opposed to fat cells, and that's what we're oftentimes looking with. And if you're really interested in this stuff, you can of course check NutraBio's the Unbound Slin here, which is a glucose disposal agent that does that in spades. So like that's the main thing. Subscribe to our channel if you want to hear more about that. But it turns out that dark chocolate can increase insulin sensitivity, which is kind of odd, because if you give someone who's insulin resistant even more carbs, it makes the situation worse. But something in the dark chocolate is overcoming that a little bit, and turns out that Epicatechin does the same thing. So it seems to be Epicatechin driving some of this. And so insulin sensitivity improvements are always great. A lot of times this allows people to kind of clear out their blood sugar and try to drive it towards muscle, and be more metabolically healthy and less saturated with sugar and insulin and all that. In our situation, it just it gives us an excuse and an ability to eat more carbohydrates. So it depends on who you're talking to. Like with glucose disposal, we go for the what can let me eat more carbs route. And this is one of those ingredients, one of the many, but we're really here for the myostatin inhibition. And this dose, 270 milligrams yield, that's awesome. Like when we first started covering this, we were happy to see 100 milligrams. Then there's 200 milligrams. Now we're at like a 300 milligram, 90% extract. Really good stuff. So overall, those two ingredients alone excite me over this. And then after that, we have the next ingredient, Laxogenin, which is this basically, and I avoided writing this in the blog post, but it's a plant steroid, and it seems to be anabolic in certain plants, the cruciferous vegetables, all the stuff that makes our pee smell good. We got broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus especially, and so this is an important component in those, and it is used in the supplement world. In my opinion, we've seen, it's tough to talk about this and not get too carried away, because there's research showing that it has a similar anabolic to androgenic ratio as Anavar. I have also avoided writing that in the article. So it's not Anavar. None of this stuff's going to do anything to those levels. This is a supplement that maybe you want to take if you're coming off cycle and want to maintain some of your strength. And that goes for the whole supplement, including Laxogenin. But this isn't anywhere near anything like that. So I have to put that out there. But at the same time, anecdotal, I'm just going to skip to anecdotally. It seems to be a little bit of a strength booster. And I'm talking about like your 5 rep max turning into a 6 reps. Your 1 rep max maybe turning into 1 rep, trying to get over a little bit of a plateau. And secondary, and this is I think the most important thing, it just seems to like lubricate the joints a little bit. And there seems to be a little bit of that as well. So this is a plant steroid that we call a minor strength booster. And there's no human-based, there's no like double-blinded, peer-reviewed studies on human-based muscle building, although we do in the blog post show some graphs about an internally funded study from one of the ingredient suppliers where they do show increased strength and increased muscle size and all that. So take that with a grain of salt, but at the same time, anecdotally, I think it's just a small strength booster. Now, there is a patent out there that references this stuff, and they also mention some other benefits. These are claimed benefits, such as synergistic with other anabolic agents, functions as an adaptogen, reduces pain. I can side with that, to be honest. Speeds recovery from injury, I can also side with that, and improves lipid levels. My lipids are fine, so I don't really care about as much about that. I think this is kind of like an auxiliary lubricant, is all I'm gonna say with Laxogenin. If it weren't here, I wouldn't be heartbroken. I'm here for the phosphatidic acid and the Epicatechin more, and then the Apigenin that we'll talk about, but I'm also not disappointed that it's in here. I've never had a problem with it. I've never had side effects. It's not Anavar, let's put it that way, okay? And so that's Laxogenin, and what is the dose here? It's 150 milligrams. We've seen smaller, we've seen larger. It's a pretty good, slightly above average dose there. Now, after that, we have a 50 milligram dose of AstraGin. You know what, I'm gonna skip AstraGin. I love AstraGin and everything. We cover this like crazy, but that's actually the ingredient amplifier. Let's skip right into Apigenin, which is the new ingredient on the block. I guess phosphatidic acid is kind of new because no one else has had it. Apigenin's new because it's not been in any muscle building supplements that I've seen just yet. And what this is, we recently covered a blog post where we're talking about NMN, and it's an NAD booster. And NAD plus helps with cellular energy and mitochondrial energy. And what we've noticed is that over the course of time, your NAD levels deteriorate as you age, and then goes cellular energy, and you can get into the state of insufficient cellular energy. And so a lot of anti-aging supplements have ingredients like these that boost NAD, such as NMN, or keep NAD plus levels around, such as Apigenin. And that's what it does. And the way it does this is it's a CD38 inhibitor. CD38 is a huge consumer of our NAD plus. And so if we can inhibit that, we get more NAD plus around, and that leads to more mitochondrial energy and a lot of just different biosynthesis pathways that can be undertaken when we have more of it. And so it is healthy. Basically, the thesis here is going to be healthy mitochondria, healthy muscle. But there are 2 studies that are worth, there's several studies actually on Apigenin pointing to the fact that it is an aromatase inhibitor. So this may be able to keep some of our testosterone around and have less conversion to estrogen. And there is also 1 study done in rats so far that does show increased muscle protein synthesis, and it goes through a series of mechanisms, not just the mTOR pathway. And so that study talks about all these different biopathways that are used, and it is able to ultimately increase muscle protein synthesis and build muscle in the animals. So Apigenin, we are looking for more human-based studies. This is like the new ingredient. You're not going to see this typically in a NutraBio supplement, and that's why they wanted to build Unbound BYLD because they're going after some of the newer, more aggressive stuff. I do believe you're going to see a lot more Apigenin. It's going to mostly it's going to be in the anti-aging space. It's going to be paired with NAD boosters like NMN. Maybe NR. But overall, I think it's a very unique play to put this in a muscle building agent. Maybe we're gonna see it in some glucose disposal agents, and this is something that's really cool and unique. I'm a huge fan of parsley, and there's a lot of Apigenin in parsley. Like everything for me lines up with this ingredient being something that I think will be great in the anti-aging space, and if it helps people build or keep their muscles by maintaining mitochondrial health, and allowing the satellite cells to build, to rebuild and to grow, then I'm all for it. And then after that, we are amplifying it with AstraGin from New Live Science. We've talked about this ingredient countless times. And even more recently, we've published an article talking about the astragalus and the ginseng extracts that are inside of New Live Science's ingredients. So I'm going to defer to that, and I'm going to punt the video over to Ben in terms of talking about some of the science behind it. But in general, this is an ingredient that they've pulled out the right stuff out of ginseng and astragalus, and they're able to upregulate the transporters that will help transport some of the ingredients, I guess, different biological compounds once they're in your plasma. But even more importantly, it'll also upregulate the ability of the small intestine to intake and absorb it. So it's an absorption amplifier, and so it'll help you it helps heal the gut a little bit, it seems like, but it'll help get it into the gut and into the plasma through the gut, and then it'll upregulate the transport as well. And so there's really, really, really awesome, unique research on AstraGin. You could also check out NutraBio Absorb. We have videos, we have a blog post talking about that, which has AstraGin as well. And so New Live Science is doing some really cool stuff. This is here to enhance the absorption and bioavailability. It's tested at a lot of different amino acids. It's also in Unbound here by Unbound, and it's in a ton of different supplements. So really happy to see this amplified. Long story short, I am very, very excited about a non-hormonal muscle building agent that is going to be basically, you can take it, anyone can take this. I think it's going to be best for people who have the budget and are either coming off a cycle or simply don't want to get involved in that stuff. Obviously, I have never gotten involved in that stuff and I have zero regrets about that. But I do feel like, my mini review is that I feel a little bit of extra thickness whenever I take phosphatidic acid. And I realized like the last couple of days, I was feeling, honestly, I swear to you, I was feeling a little bit flat. I realized that I had set up my pill buckets here without building them. I was taking it every day separate, and I just thought I'd throw them into my pill buckets. Instead, I forgot to do that. I ended up missing it for 2 days, and I already was like just noticing a little bit of flatness. I don't know. Then I realized I have to get on every day. And so I am a fan of this, but long story short, these ingredients need to come with some serious training. This isn't a freebie thing. This isn't a steroid. This isn't Anavar. It is what it is. It's a natural muscle building supplement, but I am extremely positive on it. And finally, someone's bringing phosphatidic acid back, and someone's bringing a large dose of Epicatechin and a little bit of Apigenin. I'm telling you, stay tuned on that ingredient. So this is Mike with PricePlow. This video's gone long, but that's just how it's gonna be with these ingredient explainers. I don't know how much more I could shorten it if we're gonna get into the research. So that is what it is. Do I recommend this supplement? If you got a budget, absolutely. If you don't have budget, no, stick with the creatine, betaine, all stuff that you can get from NutraBio, and then this like hard charge it with a pre-workout and as much protein as you can fit into your face, healthy fats and all that. This is the next level after that. So that's my take. Hugely, hugely, hugely excited about this formula. We'll see where the prices really land though. And of course, you can check out PricePlow.com/unbound. Sign up for the alerts when it's available. We'll have some coupons and everything. I'm assuming the coupon code will be PricePlow. And we'll see where that price lands. Overall, if you're gonna get after it for, I would say 8 weeks, got contest prep, beach days coming up, got the money, go for it. I don't know who's like going out to bars anymore. I'm getting old, but if you got the money, go for it. I don't think you need to go bankrupt over this stuff either though. So that's what we're gonna see where the price lands. Overall, extremely, extremely positive on build. Check out those first 2 ingredients on blog.priceplow.com. Thanks.
Welcome to PricePlow.